Hey, I'm Jeremy Drobeck with Treadstone Mortgage, and I am here today with Ramon Huerta from Hunt for Home. And we are here to talk a little bit about renovation loans, and some cool VA stuff that we have going on. Um, First off, a little bit about myself. I've been in the business now 24 years. Was in-house lender for a builder for a long time, and then got into the renovation lending piece of the business. And there's a really cool unknown program out there, and that's the VA renovation loan that we've been very involved with and stuff. And that's kind of where Ramon comes in. So me and Ramon met, what was it, 13 years ago, something like that,
Yeah,
Ramon,
somewhere
right?
around there. Yep.
So we actually met in the in the investor space. So I was buying rental properties, Ramon was buying rental properties, and we were both involved with the landlord association in Kalamazoo, Michigan here. And man, Ramon, our relationship's just growing from there. Ramon is an avid investor, still very involved with the real estate investing community in town. He's a licensed real estate agent, and also a licensed contractor. And so Ramon's been doing some different renovation projects for us and stuff over the last couple of years, and has just done an outstanding job, and is a veteran. So what I love about what we're doing here with these VA loans, Ramon, is I'm a vet. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years, and you were in the Army for 6 years, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we both connect with those veterans out there. We both totally respect and love that VA loan program, and just love report just in helping those veterans get to the closing table. So Ramon, put your I can talk on this a little bit too, but put your realtor hat on for a second, or your contractor hat on, and like when you see people doing VA financing, what are some of the pitfalls you see out there in the marketplace, and some of the challenges with the VA financing?
The some of the stuff that I see are some of the banks or the lenders that say they do the loans don't do them enough to be really knowledgeable how to handle things. So on the local level, that's what I see. On the national level, you have big organizations that say that that's all they do. And the issue with some of those organizations that they're not connected locally. So sometimes when you run into certain situations or issues or things that need to be handled, most of the time you're calling a call center or something like that, so you don't have that connection locally to sometimes address some of these issues. And it could be simple as having those relationships with an appraiser, an inspector, or somebody else that's on, doing something for this transaction and just getting better insight and trying to see what you can do to move the file forward.
Yeah, yeah. I would totally agree with that. I'll get calls, we call them SOS files or save our sale, but I'll get calls where the deal's literally blowing up with one of those national call center lender type places, and it's usually something pretty simple to solve. You know, as part of the process, when somebody's going through the process, an appraisal's done, and with VA or other types of government financing, that appraisal's a little bit more picky on the condition of the property, right? And so a lot of times that's where it's going south, and knowing how to navigate those repairs, those deals are totally closable, right? You've seen them yourself, or where you're out there doing the work and stuff on some of these houses. What kind of repairs do you see the VA appraisers writing up or requiring when they're doing those appraisals?
A lot of the biggest things that you'll see are safety concerns. So sometimes if you have broken windows, if you're missing a handrail, if the steps coming in, entry doors are, there's dry rot and things of that nature, is a lot of things are the red flags, chipping paint. They don't like chipping paint. Some of the roofs, if they look like they're at the end of the life, they don't like that. So biggest things are safety. Safety, safety, safety. It's the number one thing most of the time when I get a call, we go and do um, walk through the property, most of the time they'll have kind of like a wish list of things like, oh, I want to renovate this kitchen or update the bathroom, and which those are great, but we have to address those safety concerns that are probably going to be flagged by the appraiser. And then once we address those, then we can go into that other list of things that they desire to be done.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So let's just back up a second and we're both firm believers in these VA loans, right? Helping the veterans. And I just want to speak real quickly to the benefits to the VA financing. So you know this firsthand, and you've certainly worked with customers that have taken advantage of this. But number one, the VA loan zero down, right? So the VA will do financing with no money down. And then as an added perk to that veteran, they don't have to pay PMI or mortgage insurance. So a lot of times when somebody's purchasing a home on a normal loan or a conventional loan or an FHA, if they're not putting 20% down on a conventional, they're paying PMI. On an FHA, they're paying PMI, and that PMI ranges and varies depending on the price and the house. But like a $200,000 house, it's not uncommon to have $100 a month worth of mortgage insurance on there, PMI. And so the big benefit to VA for veterans is it's zero down, and they save that $100 a month. They save that PMI amount. So I see out there in the marketplace where people get discouraged from doing a VA loan because they're and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're just more challenging to get those types of offers accepted by a seller. And the reason they're challenging to get accepted by a seller is because of the concerns over to that appraisal and the repairs that are out there. And
Yeah,
so, yeah,
that's
go ahead.
one of the things that you see. The other side of that you see too is the education piece, where sometimes people see that it's 100%, oh, they must not be able to afford, or they might not have a down payment. And that's the misconception. They look at that buyer as not a strong buyer because it's 100% financing. And you have to educate and let people know that this is a benefit. This is a benefit only for service members that have, earned that benefit, right? So
Yeah,
it's just like you said, it's the 100% and the no PMI. That's huge. That's an
yeah.
extra $100, right? At least, or something, sometimes even more. And that's where you miss that. I think it's miscommunication or misinterpretation on some of those things. They look at it's a governmental product, so it might be somebody that has challenges that they're not able to go conventional. But it's if you put those loans side by side, right, you can see it's a lot better benefit on the VA than going conventional. They might qualify for both. But why not take advantage of those benefits, right? They've earned those. Why not give it to them? So that's one of the other things that I see that becomes a challenge sometimes.
Okay, cool. So the way to kind of sweeten up a VA offer. So we got a veteran that wants to get pre-approved, and they're going to put an offer in on a property, and they're competing against other offers or whatever, and we want it to kind of stand out for that seller on that offer. So one of the things we can do is that the buyer's agent that's representing that buyer maybe explains to the other agent, hey, we know this is a zero down loan and they're not putting any money down. The buyer does have money in the bank. They just want to take advantage of the no PMI on the VA loan. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a conversation. Obviously, the other agent has no say so on what offer gets accepted. It's all dependent on the seller itself, but it's something that they can definitely highlight and just say, "Hey, just so you know, this is a veteran. This is a benefit that they have." And just so there's just an understanding that it's not because they have challenging things or anything like that, or they can't qualify for something else. It's truly a benefit.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Well, I've had veterans too write letters to the seller talking about their service to our country, right? And I think that can make a difference too if they served in Iraq or they served overseas or something, telling that story and kind of tugging at the heartstrings of the seller and whatnot can make a difference. And then lastly, it's right, like let's alleviate the concern over the repairs, right? And that's really where where what the meat and potatoes of what we want to get at today. Like, let's just solve the repair problem so that that's not an obstacle with the offer. And we can do that. We can do that on multiple different types of loans. But so basically, we have a renovation program for FHA, uh, conventional, and VA. And the the way the renovation loan works is the buyer comes in, gets pre-approved, then their real estate agent will find them a house, right? And so they find a house, um, and they make an offer on it, get the offer accepted, and if there's repairs that need to be done, so let's just say we've got, peeling paint on a barn, or we got flooring missing, or maybe there's no furnace or a tarp on the roof or something like that. Like, we can do this renovation loan and finance those repairs into the loan. So if we go in on the offer as a VA renovation and tell the seller, hey, we're going to finance the repairs in, seller, you don't need to worry about them, that can solve that problem with the offer. So when we're going through that process, right, and we get to that point where they have the accepted offer, and then I'm sending them to you, hey, call Ramon up, get a bid for the work you want to do out there. When you get those phone calls, what's that process look like for you when you first talk to that customer?
We're going to walk through the property and we're just going to address those things that are going to stand out that, like I said, they're safety concerns, things that maybe they're missing or at the end of their lifespan. And a lot of times they're big ticket items, right? Like you spoke about a roof. Maybe the electrical needs to be updated. Maybe the furnace is, going out. So these are big ticket items that sometimes it makes sense to just roll them into the loan so it could be addressed, it could be taken care of, and then that's one less thing that the veteran has to worry about, or anybody using the renovation loan worry about that they might have to do in the next 3 years or 2 years. Now they already know that's addressed, it's rolled into the price, and it's no concern from the seller because they don't have to worry about repairing those things.
Okay. Okay. So you're going to meet the customer out there at the house. You're going to go through the house with them. You're going to mention the things that you think might get flagged by the appraiser and talk through those with the buyer. And then you're going to talk through their wants a little bit, and you send me a bid, right? I mean, you'll do up a bid basically and send that over to me, and then I'm going to order an appraisal with it, right? So we order the appraisal, we send the appraiser the contract, the purchase agreement contract, and we send them the bid. And the appraiser goes out to the property and says, all right, I can see they're doing all this stuff, and they're appraising it as completed. So they're saying once all this work is done, here's what this appraisal looks like, and they give us a value as completed, not as is. And then a lot of times it'll come back, and we just had this happen yesterday, right? But a lot of times it'll come back and there'll be some additional repairs that need to be added to the bid. So we'll forward over that to you and the customer. And then what do you do from there when you get that bid revision? What's your process look like on that?
Then we have to get with our customer and just kind of go over it and maybe make some adjustments. Maybe we have to maybe remove something, depends on where we're at with our budget, and or maybe drop down on something else that they wanted, and just try to make it work really. And sometimes, I mean, it's human nature, right? It's another individual that might have seen something that we might have missed. So it's not a big deal. A lot of times, unless it's something dramatic that now we know that something's not functioning or something like that, that it's a big ticket item. It's just really just working through it and making sure that everybody's on board, everybody understands what needs to happen, and if we can move forward, we do.
Okay. All right. Awesome. 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 So you'll get us the revised bid back, and we'll kind of finalize things on our end. We do some contractor vetting, and as you know, there's paperwork you got to fill out as the contractor on these things. Can you comment on that paperwork? Is just if there's any other contractors out there watching this that thinking about getting involved with renovation financing, like how do you feel you're essentially dealing with a lender, and you're dealing with government loan programs, right? Like, is the paperwork for you as the contractor complicated, or give me your honest 2 cents on that?
It's not necessarily complicated. It's sometimes it's an extra two, three steps that sometimes we don't normally have to do when you're dealing with a regular renovation with a homeowner and stuff. You don't have to be adding all these extra things or extra paperwork. So it's a couple of extra steps, and it's the timing too. It's just some of the things have to be done in a certain steps and order and stuff. So it does add a couple of things to your to-do list, but it's not overly complicated. But it is like everything governmental, it's more paperwork that you have to do. And sometimes it's the same thing you're putting on different forms and it's the same information. And sometimes you think, well, why can't they take it from this form and transfer it to that? But each form has to be filled out, even if it's the same information. It goes to probably different departments or for different, who knows what reasons they do it, but there is always paperwork. And it can be as a contractor, sometimes you're in the field a lot, you're working, and that's the last thing that sometimes you want to do is paperwork, but it is a step that needs to happen. Important step.
Dude, I just want to say that's one of the things I absolutely love about working with you on these things. Like, you've been in this real estate game for so many years, like, you get all the pressure that the realtor and lender and all the parties are under to close these things. Like, there's always a deadline when, in a real estate transaction, and that's that closing date. And you totally like get the urgency. You don't, at least I don't feel like you feel like I'm bugging you when I'm saying, hey, I need that bid by tomorrow, or I need it, in 3 days, because you understand, like, it's just the clock's ticking and we got to keep things moving forward. And to boot, you were in the military, so you understand all the bureaucratical junk with the government that we just have to jump through these hoops and it will close, and we'll all carry on our way. So thank you
Yeah.
for your cooperation and help when we're needing that paperwork. It makes a
Yeah,
huge difference.
absolutely. Because you got to think back, right? Like I've been the customer. I purchase homes, right? I've been a lender too, so I understand what that head is, right? I am a realtor, so I understand those things. I'm a builder now, so I understand. So I've been in all their shoes and understand the process and how frustrating it could be sometimes when things come up. And it's frustrating when you think, hey, we got this all done and everybody did their part, and then something comes up and then it just got to roll through everybody else. But I've been in their position, so I could be empathetic on those situations, but then I know that we have to, the things that we need to do to move forward, right? So that's the other thing is like, you don't want to put too much pressure, but it's like, hey, this is where we are. Let's address it. And that's kind of like military mindset, right? There's always issues, there's always problems. How we're going to push forward? What do we need to do? How do we need to react? So that's what you just have to do to each one of those steps and just like get it to the next level, move it forward to the end game. And at the end, everybody's usually happy.
Yep, yep, yep. So we do that bid tweaking and we eventually close. And once we close, so everybody's clear, the closing is where the seller gets their money, the realtors get paid, they're out of the picture, and the buyer gets the keys to the house. Um, but yet the work still needs to get done, right? So we're closed and the money's set aside for all the renovations and everything. And the buyer owns the house, and so now, as the contractor, you can go in there and start the project. What does that process look like with you?
That could be a challenging process because we're in Michigan, right? And our weather is constantly changing. So depending, we might have started this process, in June. Then it's July, August, maybe it closes. Maybe we have some challenges and it's pushed out. So you have no idea exactly when you're going to close. So once you close, then you got to try to get that work. And depending on what that work is, and we're talking about exterior work and we're getting into those winter months, it might be something that doesn't get done until towards springtime and stuff. And it becomes a challenge because sometimes we have a deadline. Sometimes we give us 6 months, is it? That
Yep,
we get.
yep,
Sometimes it might be a little bit different depending on the product, but those are the challenges that we come to sometimes because of where we live and the climates and stuff like that. And so sometimes we might get to it sooner on certain things, and there's other things in that. in that bid that might be addressed maybe 3 4 months from that time. So those are the challenging things sometimes, and you have to kind of walk through that, because as a customer, you want to close. And I get calls sometimes where we close Friday and it's like, hey, can you be there Monday? No, we can't. Like, let's look at what needs to happen, and
The
then let's get
windows
you on
are
the
3 weeks
schedule.
out from shipping still, right?
Right, right. So then kind of walking through and understanding, and you can explain that in the beginning, but sometimes, there's so much thing that you're thinking about that you don't start addressing those things until you are closed, and then you close, and it's like, hey, okay, let's look at the work. Where can we fit it in, depending on where we're at with schedule, depending on weather and things of that nature. And then our other subcontractors with our other tradesmen, if we're needing an electrician, HVAC, we got to get on their schedule too to make sure it all kind of lines up. So that's one of the challenging things. As the customer, you close and you want to move in as soon as possible, right? Like that person that called me is like, hey, I'd like to have Christmas at my house, and it's a major renovation. I'm like, I'm sorry, there's no way that that's gonna happen for everything
Yeah.
that we need to do for those. So we're probably about 3 months out for that. So it could be some challenges, but like again, we just work through them and try to get them, in there as soon as we are able to.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. You kind of brought this up and we've hinted at it. Let me just kind of cover a couple things like with these renovation loans. So the we've done a ton of FHA renovation loans, and that's really because that's the most forgiving renovation loan. Like it's the most lenient, the most options. The FHA renovations a 3.5% down. There's really no limit on the amount of repairs. You could have a $200,000 addition that you're putting on a home. And so we do by nature a lot of those FHAs because it fits a lot of the different scenarios people have out there. The VA loan's a little bit more restrictive. So when we get into the VA, it's a $50,000 cap on repairs. It's not meant for your major renovation projects. It's more, what does it take to get this thing habitable? What does it take to pass an appraisal?
Mhm.
So $50,000 cap and a little bit shorter time frame on getting the work done. But nonetheless, it is a stellar program to help a veteran get an offer accepted on the VA loan program when they're struggling to find a home given the market conditions. Um, so I've had just a great time helping people with those different programs out there. Uh, Anything else you want to add here, Ramon, before we wrap up?
The only thing that comes into mind right now is it's a benefit, not a crutch. It's always playing in my head when I talk about it. When if I'm representing the buyer or I'm representing the seller, I always say it's a benefit, it's not a crutch. Don't look at it as something that it's keeping them from achieving those things just because they're using that tool. It's a great tool, it's a great benefit, and why not give it to our veterans that they deserve it?
100%. I totally agree. Totally agree. Ramon, if people out there watching want to reach out to you, be it for real estate related stuff or your contracting business and working with a veteran contractor, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way is to go to our website, which is huntforhome.com. So huntforhome.com. That's the best way. That way it could reach the right team. You'll see on our website, there'll two segments where you'll be your real estate side and there'll be your construction side. So depending on what your needs may be, you get to the right side, and then the right team member will get a hold of you.
And construction wise, what kind of work do you guys do? Are you just a window company or what kind of, are you doing multiple things? What kind of work are you looking for?
We do all renovations, and we've been doing this now, as like we said, for almost 20 years, 20 plus years now. When I bought my first house in 99, and getting into the business as an investor, and just seeing all those, those challenges that sometimes you have, it was just something that I just wanted to add as a benefit to my clients when I was helping them in their real estate needs, that I just felt that there was another step, another layer that we could do in our company to help our clients out, and that was the construction side. And it's grown just from minor renovations. Now we can do bathrooms, kitchens, exterior, interior. We've done new builds too. So it's really catered to our customer, what their needs are. Sometimes we are the best outfit for it. Sometimes they're not. And I've referred some of those to other builders, other partners that we have where it's a better fit for them. So it's all about getting, getting those your my client's goals accomplished. If it's with me, great. If it's not, I'm going to get them to the right individual to make those things happen.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Thank you. It was great talking to you, Ramon. It's been awesome working with you over all these years. Truly awesome being your friend. And anybody out there listening that needs work done on a house or needs help, look Ramon up. He's a trustworthy, honest guy. He'll steer you in the right direction. That's Ramon Huerta, huntforhome.com.